Do you remember when we couldn't spell, but then we could spell, but then someone tried to change it all? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't get it to order a big coffee. That's how that saying goes, isn't it? Yeah. I've talked before about the consensual nature of language, that somehow through the vast complex inane reality of the everyday, that we are, all of us, sorting and standardizing language as we go along. There have been, however, a few attempts over the years to change language from the top down. And that brings us to colour and centre and flavour and theatre and humour and not glamour, but also realisation. There are quite a few words which American English spells differently to British English, although more correctly I suppose I should be saying United States English. I say that because of course Canada is in the Americas, and Canada, which is a bigger country than the United States, speaks British English largely, mostly. Some of the spellings are also the same as United States English. Anyway, why do we, the people of Britain, those tiny islands in the North Atlantic, spell things differently to you in the United States, that very loud country over there? Well, the story starts with Chuck Norris. It doesn't. I just wanted to say that because I thought that United States viewers would like it. Tell me you don't. Actually, like all great stories, the story starts with pretty much everybody. So back in times before there was black and white television, back when everything was in gonorrhea vision or consumption of vision, no one really had a handle on how things were spelt. So there was sort of general conformity, but actually most things there was still a general conversation going on between scholars on how things should be spelt. So up until the 16th and 17th centuries, there was a patchwork of understanding because, of course, language, as I've covered a billion times before, is made up of lots of different things. So lots of different etymologies and also loan words and other cultures coming in and saying things which we find funny, and then we use that word. Cultural cross-admiration, if you will. This, of course, leads to contention. One example of this is the O-U-R-O-R suffix. It's not really a suffix. What it is it's a part of the word that we stick on the end of a word to, well, it's sort of, well, here we go. Jealous and colour and honour and all of those with the O-U-R, and in the United States you spell it with an O-R. That wasn't totally decided in Shakespeare's time, so quite a lot of Shakespeare's earlier plays, written in the original hand, according to Etymology.com, actually feature both the O-U-R and O-R across the same word, so that there was no actual consistency is the word I'm looking for there. His later plays, by the way, settled on O-U-R. So we can see by that things have begun to settle into the usual sorting process. Some of the words were beginning to drop their U's and some others had been standardised to O-U-R. And then Noah Webster came along. Noah Webster was he's the Webster bit in Merriam-Webster dictionary. So he's the guy who wrote one of the first American or United States, I say it as well, one of the first United States dictionaries. Now, Webster was a lot of things, a lot of good things. He was a politician, which is, despite what we think of politicians today, a good thing. It's the art of compromise. He was an abolitionist, so he didn't think slavery was a good idea, which is, I think, a pretty good way to be. And also, he was an accomplished lexicographer. Being alive in the early 19th century, he was around when basically the United States was finding its feet as a nation. And being an important person within that nation, he actually had the sway to be able to direct the culture into something new if he wanted to. Webster believed that the United States needed to be held together by a common language, and that language should be English, but that English should have its own identity. It should have an intrinsic United States identity. I mean, I guess you would. You just fought off the British, who were your former masters, so you'd want something for yourself, which seems fair to me. Now, being a lexicographer, Webster was quite careful about this, so he tended to choose spellings which he thought were either true to the original etymology or actually in general use anyway. One of these spellings was the part of the word that we were talking about earlier on, the O-R-O-U-R. So Webster decided that with the power of his dictionary, which would then be used in schools across the new nation, that he would drop the U and everything would be O-R. So colour and flavour and harbour and honour and splendour and all of the other ones that you know and I know, and then sometimes you go, how do you spell that? Oh, it's an O-U-R, or oh, it's an O-R, depending on where you are. But he didn't stop there. He also changed the spelling of things like litre and theatre. So over here in the UK, we spell litre with an R-E at the end, or theatre with an R-E at the end. But in the United States, Webster changed it to E-R and E-R. Again, in British English, this wasn't actually quite decided on by that point, but of course, when Webster did this, the British scholars went, well, we must standardise it the other way because we are correct. So then it became solid for the British way of spelling as well. It's the same with the United States use of the word. It's the same with the United States use of the letter Z, of course, in realisation or realise or anything of those things which in English we use an S, and in United States English you use a JZ. That's his name. Webster did propose some other changes to spelling, some of which were successful and some of which were not so successful. One of those unsuccessful ones was the spelling of machine. As you know, we still spell machine, and we did then M-A-C-H-I-N-E. Webster proposed that we should spell it M-A-S-H-E-E-N, which is, I guess, how I would have spelt it probably up until last week, because I'm a terrible speller. It's interesting to note at this point that actually probably the reason why that didn't take off is because no one spelt it like that anyway. There was already a standardized spelling for that word. So whereas with the other examples there was already some contention over it, so he could find, all he had to do was lightly suggest something and influence the direction of the culture. In this case, no one was spelling it like that except for 5-year-olds and me. Not that I was alive back then. I mean, it would be nice to live that long. So Webster's dictionary was a light nudge in a common direction, which, do you know what? I think we could all learn from that. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. Sometimes I might do something interesting on those two platforms. Probably won't. Either way, maybe go and give me a follow. And if you're watching this on Instagram, then maybe go over to YouTube and you'll find a full a full library of my older videos. Thank you. Take care.